everybody, and welcome to the May 4th, 2026 meeting of the Metuchen Borough Council. May the 4th be with you. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Said notice was published in the Home News Tribune on December 14, 2025, posted in Borough Hall and filed in the clerk's office. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Please, before we do the flag salute, I'd like if everyone could just join me in a moment of silence for a 20-year borough employee who is the Registrar of Vital Statistics and a 46-year Metuchen resident, Diana Yashinsky. She passed away on April 10, 2026. Please join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Ms. Zupan?
Councilmember Branch?
I'm here.
Councilmember Hyman?
Here.
Councilmember Jeffalani?
Here.
Councilmember Kandel?
Here.
Councilmember Sukhan?
Here.
Council President Delia?
Here.
Mayor Bush?
Here. Okay. Do I have a motion to open the agenda session?
I make a motion to open the agenda.
There's been a motion by the council president. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anything opposed? Anyone opposed? Anything to add to the?
I believe
Agenda?
Councilmember Jeffalani might have something there.
Oh, yeah, I just want to remove from the communication consent agenda, just remove item B, to vote on that separately.
Got it. Thank you.
That's all.
Which one was that specifically? Summit Avenue. Okay, got it. Okay. We're going to pull that and vote on that separately, and just let the clerk know that. Is there any changes for the agenda? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to close the agenda
I
session?
make a motion to close the agenda.
There's been a motion to close. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this point, we're going to go on to public comment. We have anybody from the public looking to address the council? Microphone is yours. Name and address for the record.
Slim turnout tonight. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Todd Nagel, 313 Midland Avenue. I like to type my comments as to not keep you here all night, so hopefully this will keep it short. I know I'm a few little weeks late on this. It's been hard to get here, but I'm here tonight to talk about the Hillside Pilot Project. I was extremely disheartened at the way the whole thing turned out. Extremely disheartened. I almost couldn't make it here tonight. I've been an advocate in Metuchen for 20 years, and it was voices like Kun Han, who's going to speak soon, and some folks I never met at the council meeting, speaking out for bike and pedestrian safety that got me out the door this evening. Almost kind of gave up. I'm here to talk about this pilot project. The pilot project that was canceled before the community had a chance to experience it. Pilot projects are meant to move us beyond opinions. They give everyone, not just the loudest voices, a chance to participate and provide real feedback. Without that, we're not making decisions based on perception or data. And I believe the tone of this conversation, especially on social media, has played a role. And I believe, besides myself here, there are many residents who support making our streets safer, but chose not to speak up because they were afraid. So we're not hearing from the full community on this pilot project. We're only hearing from the loudest voices on social media. And that's not how good decisions get made. I've been advocating for safer streets in Metuchen for nearly 20 years. I've spoken at meetings, submitted requests, attended events, and worked with committees. Councilman Delia can tell you about my traffic and transportation contributions. I've done it the right way, and it's frustrating that even something temporary, low risk, and community focus couldn't move forward. This pilot project didn't exist in a vacuum. There were so many people who put in hundreds of hours with one goal: to make our streets safer and to prevent tragedies on our roads. I think that was missed. I think during this conversation, the hundreds of hours of volunteer time that was put in by the Traffic and Transportation Committee, the Police Department, Keep Middlesex Moving, wasn't thought about. So I know there's not a lot of people here today, but hopefully for the people at home, I want to just tell a little bit of story about Keep Middlesex Moving and the Traffic and Transportation Committee. Before the pilot project was canceled, myself and probably 10 other volunteers, residents, were sitting upstairs talking about how to get more people involved in this pilot project process. How can we do it? How can we get more people out? Let's get more people. Let's do social media. Let's get more bikes. Let's keep it with all these different groups, right? None of them had a chance. Keep Middlesex Moving, some group that I became extremely, and just let me know if I'm going over time, Mayor.
No, there's not exactly that
Yeah.
many people here. You take as much time as you need.
Thanks. Keep Middlesex Moving has been a part of this community for a long time. And I think the vitriol on social media towards them was a little off-putting for me. So I want the town of Metuchen and the council to know how important of an ally they are and then what they can provide to this community. So just follow me along with this one. In 2021, when Afghanistan fell to the Taliban, 150,000 Afghanis came to the United States. About 25,000 of them were brought to Fort Dix, New Jersey. I was activated to go down there and help those refugees assimilate to American culture. When the federal on-scene coordinator found out that I was a teacher, he asked me to create a school for 3,000 Afghan kids. 3,000. They were literally just running around Fort Dix for weeks before I got there, right? So I start this school, bring some friends in, bring some teachers in from all over the place. I'm talking to these kids as best as I can. They are getting relocated like this to their towns and their cities all across the United States, right? So my Metuchen Council brain kicks in, right? And I literally have, my heart sinks thinking about these small children trying to cross the street in these cities that they have no idea about. They don't know about our transportation system. They don't know about our signage. They don't know about our crosswalks, nothing, right? So I call Keep Middlesex Moving, Chris Gundis, who Jason knows very well. Within days, on their own time, they took all of the transportation organizations in New Jersey and brought about 30 volunteers. And they taught 2 days of almost 12-hour lessons to these Afghan kids about crossing the street and how to use our transportation system. In days, those kids were gone. And I like to think that without them, right, those kids may have ended up one of our statistics on our roads, right? They take up all their time. Keep Middlesex Moving. All these organizations came down, no cost to anybody, the government. They came down, taught these classes. It was one of the proudest, I've been in the Coast Guard now for 15 years, 16 years. It was one of the proudest moments I've ever had in uniform. That's the type of people that were involved in this pilot project. Keep Middlesex Moving was giving up their time to help run this pilot project. I ad-libbed on that one a little bit, Mr. Mayor.
I can see that. Keep going, it's okay.
To see them attacked on social media was extremely upsetting, all right? And to all the volunteers, myself included, Kunhan, right? The Traffic and Transportation Committee, Councilman Delia, Kenny Bauer from the police department, who was there in that 2-hour meeting listening to me rant about bike lanes, thinking about better ways in which we can run this pilot project. So I heard a lot of great things, and I appreciate it. I understand that, you know, there was a sentiment out there that this was a bad idea. The bike lane, maybe not the greatest thing in the world, but the pilot project is something that this council needs to latch onto. It gives the town of Metuchen the flexibility to try out new, safe ways to make our streets safer. And to the CFO in the room, almost no-cost ways to make our streets safer. That's what I was excited about as a 20-year advocate in Metuchen. I was excited that Metuchen was going to try a pilot project for the first time ever, minus COVID, New Street. Don't get me started on that one. That's a whole other meeting, all right? So, it was great hearing you guys talk about action, action, action. Let's do it, all right? Now is the time. Let's strike while the iron is hot, all right? I know some folks are a little upset about what happened, There is an appetite in Metuchen to try pilot projects. Keep Middlesex Moving will help. The Traffic and Transportation Committee will help. I will help. We will make our streets safer by trying new things that are out of the box. And I believe the person who runs all of the supplies for the Middlesex County lives in Metuchen. And we will make our streets safer, right? That's what this council needs to do. The pilot project needs to happen. And they need to happen frequently around town. Because the last conversation I want to have, and this is what always haunted me since the day I was on the council, when someone is hit and killed on our streets. All right? And we know, with all of the traffic that happens in Metuchen, all right, we need to make our streets safer. All right? So I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you to please try these projects, right? Let's get one done, and then we'll be done and on to the next one.
Thank
Got
you.
it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pagel. Any other comments from the public? Name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Kunhan Lee. I live at 85 Myrtle Avenue. Just wanted to come in today to follow up on some of the items that were mentioned in the prior council meeting from 2 weeks ago. I was disappointed that the bike lanes on Hillside and Delwood remain canceled completely. There was no discussion or attempt to modify the bike lanes that would have created a satisfactory solution for both residents of the street and residents of the borough. I was really disheartened to hear that one of the residents on Delwood praised the borough for its willingness to try new things. This is after the borough's decision to not allow the pilot for the bike lanes to continue, which actually would have been an attempt to try new things. Following up on that thought, I just want to know why the borough did not consider changing the bike lanes to one side of the street, or a proposal to allow the bike lanes only during the day with parking at night, or only during the warmer months while the holidays where family visits were happening and parking would be available. There's a myriad of solutions that are available for the borough to consider, but the decision was made to cancel everything completely before the pilot was ever allowed to move forward or any alternatives discussed, and I hate how heavy-handed that decision felt. I also thought that the reasoning given by the residents of Hillside and Delwood for why the bike lanes were not necessary was flawed. There was a resident who said she counted the number of bikes on a given day and said there were not enough bikes to justify a bike lane. Another resident said the cars drove too fast, so a bike lane would increase the risk to bikers, and this is why bike lanes would not work. And I spoke to many people after the meeting 2 weeks ago, and the sentiment that I got is really the same across most of my friends. Like, my kids love to bike, but I get scared and we stay on the sidewalks only. That is a direct quote from someone I talked to. The infrastructure needs to be there before people feel safe enough to bike, and that infrastructure needs to be built street by street before it reaches a critical mass where residents actually feel safe. You can't criticize that a bike lane is going nowhere. Otherwise, you will never have any bike lanes ever. I want to reiterate how flawed the process of canceling the potential bike lanes felt. I'm sure that Traffic and Transportation worked years to discuss, plan, implement the bike lanes that were proposed. Hundreds of volunteer hours, 2 to 3 hours, 10 times a year by the committee, additional hours for that grant that was written, time spent by residents going to those committee meetings, expressing their views, as well as emails, calls, letters, all of them wiped away because the borough decided to cancel something based on the loud voices of a few. The people going through the process are the ones doing it the right way, not the people coming in and complaining about it in force. The pilot would have showed how traffic and bikers would respond to real-world conditions, and it's a step to changing the process of how Metuchenites travel within our borough without cars. How can we ever get new infrastructure prioritizing that if there is opposition every single time we want to change anything? I recall the mayor saying the last meeting that the borough ran into a buzzsaw regarding the proposed bike lanes. I would like to ask, what counts as a buzzsaw? Is it a group of 150 people online? Is it 12 people making comments at a council meeting? Is it 2 streets in a borough with 40 miles? What do residents who want a safe way to travel in town without a vehicle have to do in order to force the borough to pause before rash decisions are made? The borough said last week, or 2 weeks ago, they're committed to pedestrian safety and bike infrastructure. I just want them to show that those are not empty words. Thank you.
Thank you. And you both have, obviously expressed yourselves thoroughly tonight. We appreciate it. There's a lot of voices on this issue, on different sides of the issue, a lot of passionate voices on both sides. And being up here, you try to make the best decisions you can. Former Councilman Pagel, you certainly appreciate that from your days up here. And, thank you for your service both to our country and to our, community in that regard. I know Mr. Lee is also involved in a borough committee. I just want to be really clear, not just to the two of you, because we're speaking here at an official meeting, right? It's for the whole community, but we're not giving up on bike lanes. We're certainly not giving up on bike lanes, bike infrastructure, anything that could potentially lead to the change that Mr. Lee was describing. For example, you do have to start somewhere. And, we have this issue with sidewalks, for example. There's times where there's an issue with sidewalks and people will say, well, why would you build a sidewalk? They don't go anywhere. And then sometimes you say, well, look, you got to start somewhere and hopefully you build a sidewalk and then the person eventually next to you builds a sidewalk and then eventually it's connected. This debate happens in so many different contexts, but it doesn't always mean that you just start if there isn't necessarily the will, or if you balance the interests and you start to see that on balance, what you thought was a good idea originally may not turn out to be the idea that you had hoped. And in the case, at least, as I think I said this last meeting, I certainly have talked to people about it. So I don't remember if I said it up here or in conversations with people, but this was not a project where we got a Main Street grant, or I should say, a bike lane grant, where we thought it was a bike lane grant on the condition that it eliminate parking. It was a grant for bike lanes. And then eventually, when the engineers looked at it, when they evaluated the space, they said, if you're going to do this, you got to get rid of parking. And I don't want to speak for the council president, but I've had numerous conversations with the council president about this issue because he's an extraordinary advocate, as you know, for pedestrian infrastructure and bicyclists. And we've been talking, and I've learned a lot actually from him and talking on some of these issues over the years. We try to learn from each other, as the former councilman knows. And I think it's really, really important. I mean, it's hard to say more than words up here because we can't take shovels out or start doing anything, just talking about it. But we are committed to something more. I mean, the idea of connecting whatever will eventually be on Grove, the bike lanes on Grove, somehow to our downtown is still the desire, still the intent. How we do it is just going to make sure that we don't eliminate parking on that street. That's just so we're looking at other options. We don't want to give money from a grant back to the extent that it's the purpose of which is to get people from one place to the other safely. But this just, for us at least, wasn't the right decision. This particular decision. Doesn't mean we're giving up altogether. In fact, we're certainly not. It was just this particular decision. I also want to clarify about KMM, Keep Middlesex Moving. They're great people. It's a great organization. It's got an incredible amount of resources to support. And it's great that the county is so invested in it because it shows that Middlesex County, in spite of the highways and the lack of pedestrian infrastructure that we have in Middlesex County, that Keep Middlesex Moving is something that will help move us forward. And of course, places like Metuchen and Cranberry and Highland Park and New Brunswick and Perth Amboy, and parts of Woodbridge. Those are the places that really you can start more easily as opposed to a bike lane in the middle of certain parts of other towns. And I think they are dedicated to doing pilot type projects in different communities. And we are willing, more than willing, we're interested in partnering with Keep Middlesex Moving on pilot projects. But to decide that we're not moving forward on a pilot project, or I should say, decide we're not moving forward on a project that would eliminate parking on the street and then engage in a pilot project that would eliminate parking on that particular street just wasn't wise for us, or for me, that in terms of a decision. So again, just because it didn't work here doesn't mean it will not work. And as I sit here right now, I'm highly committed to that. And then I also just want to just thank you guys for coming. And it doesn't matter if you weren't here at the last meeting. I certainly know, Mr. Pagel, your advocacy on this, and Mr. Lee, we heard you certainly at the meeting a couple of weeks ago. These processes are designed for deliberation. And sometimes people make decisions that don't necessarily align with your desire. I mean, sometimes when we're up here, we disagree, or even in committee or separately, we have conversations and we don't always agree. But as long as it's carefully considered, I just hope you at least know that we're doing our best to try to get ourselves to prioritize the things that you're concerned about, because they're priorities to us as well. Council President, you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Just, totally agree on your points made about KMM. I used my time at the last meeting to discuss Keep Middlesex moving and how important a partner they are to us in this community. So completely agree, as well as on all the time that was spent by so many volunteers throughout the community working towards this. Many of those hours were my hours, actually. So a lot of time was put in. But as the mayor said, this was for us, the pilot portion of this was the right decision to not move forward with that particular pilot and that particular street. Mr. Lee, it's not the project itself. We're still working towards something there. I had a meeting a week and a half ago or a week ago with Linda Koskowski and Colliers, our engineers, to discuss, now that we cannot remove parking, what are our other options, if any? And they're working on coming up with another option for us to potentially look at. We'll see if the part of the problem is that it is a grant, so it needs to be approved by the NJDOT. So we might come up with something that keeps parking, but is not acceptable for them. So that's where we're trying to balance. And I don't know if what we'll come up with will eventually be acceptable or not, but we're still trying to find a way to make that connection, because it is a really important connection between the future Grove Avenue bike lane and the downtown and train station. So hopefully more to come, we'll see.
Yeah, we know this isn't about Hillside Avenue per se. This is about a borough commitment one way or the other. And you certainly have our commitment. It's just sometimes it's easier and more practical than others to take those steps. Any other council members want to say anything on this? Okay, seeing no, we're going to close public comment. We're going to move into council meeting minutes.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve Borough Council meeting minutes of April 6, 2026.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I make a motion to approve communications consent agenda item A.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I make a motion to approve communications consent agenda item B.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yeah, I'll be abstaining, thank you.
Okay, so Councilmember Jethwani has abstained on B, communications consent agenda. Thank you. Okay. Let's,
Open hearing. Ms. Supan, would you please read ordinance 2026-08 by title only?
Ordinance 2026-08, ordinance to set the minimum and maximum wage ranges for certain borough employees, amending ordinance 2026-03.
okay, this time I'm going to open the public hearing on ordinance 2026-08. Anybody from the community looking to address?
Could you please read through these by line item, please?
No, former councilman, but thank you for asking. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing on that. Council President?
I move that ordinance 2026-08 be passed on second reading and published according to law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Branch?
Yes.
Councilmember Hyman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jethwani?
Yes.
Councilmember Kendall?
Yes.
Councilmember Sukhan?
Yes.
Council President Delia?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So before we move on to the next one, I want to talk about how big of a deal this one is. This is an acquisition of real property by the borough for the sliver of land between the Forum Theater and the abandoned gas station on the corner of, Main Street and Amboy Avenue. This is part of what our commitment has been originally, to assemble the properties there, to allow for the centerpiece of the Arts District eventually. And so, as a result of the eminent domain proceeding that we took with respect to the gas station, I think last summer, I believe, it was well before last summer, but last summer, we actually took control of the property, and now we're in the process of environmental cleanup. We are now in full ownership and control of the gas station property. This is the piece in between. This is sort of the size, I don't know, 12 feet, 15 feet or so. It's where the University of Radiology is technically belongs to the University of Radiology. It used to be, I'm told, a driveway that came from Main Street to I think it was Borough Motors. It was a auto dealership that was where the University of Radiology is now. But now it's just a landscaped space for breaks for the University of Radiology employees. But anyway, they're selling this property to us. We're assembling this together so that we can do, obviously, eventually pull this whole project together. And so it's a big deal to finally do this, and we appreciate the owners of the property for working so well with us. Council President?
Ms. Zupan, please read ordinance 2026-09 by title only.
Ordinance 2026-09, ordinance of the Borough of Metuchen authorizing the purchase of real property within the Borough of Metuchen, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
I move that ordinance 2026-09 be passed on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing set down for Monday, May 18th, 2026.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Branch?
Yes.
Councilmember Hyman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jethwani?
Yes.
Councilmember Kendall?
Yes.
Councilmember Sukan?
Yes.
Council President Telia?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We're on to reports. Report of our Borough Administrator?
I just wanted to call to the attention to all the residents. They've probably seen the bridge work has begun on Grove Avenue, the replacement of the Grove Avenue Bridge. It will shift into high gear as of June 25th, the day school ends. There will be a full closure. There'll be more coming in terms of, there'll be some signage boards out, I think, but most definitely there will be nixles. And it will be closed for 10 weeks. It'll be closed for a full closure for the duration of the summer so they can take out the old bridge and put in the new one. And then after that, it will go back to one lane once school starts. I am told they are on schedule. So this is just making everybody fully aware that this is coming. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. No matter what we say here, I imagine there's about 20 people who are watching at this moment. So hopefully all 20 of you can
Tell friends.
tell all your friends and neighbors, because this is what happens. Sometimes we do our best up here to communicate, and then we use other mechanisms for that. We'll do other mechanisms as well. Yeah, we've got a lot of infrastructure projects in town coming over the next couple of years, and they're going to, whether we want them to happen or not, they're going to wreak a lot of havoc on our streets, and you know how people are when it comes to traffic. So we have to be very concerned about that and help communicate and support our neighbors in that regard. Council President?
Just a quick one, Mayor. Speaking of Keep Middlesex Moving, they're going to be hosting a bike rodeo in June, on June 13th at the high school from 1 to 3. A bike rodeo is for, I guess, mostly kids, but I guess kids of all ages, I suppose, come and learn to practice riding their bike. They set up a little obstacle course. They give them instructions on proper braking. They check their helmets to make sure they're fitting correctly. They have someone to check their bikes, make sure everything's looking good. So June 13th, 1 to 3, bring your wheels and your helmet, and that's my update.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councilmember Sukan?
Yes, I went to that last year with my children, and it was wonderful and very helpful. So, I 3 quick things. All of them basically are asking for volunteers. So the first thing is the Shade Tree Commission. We have the Metuchen Tree Time coming up, where we're asking for volunteers, for people to come and help out. There are going to be 3 dates: May 9th, June 13th, and July 11th. If you Google Metuchen Shade Tree, there is a link that you can click on the website for a volunteer sign up and more information. For the Arts Council, there's Porch Fest. The date for that is October 3rd. We are closing the applications for people to apply to be hosts. So your home, if you don't need a porch, as long as you have a large front yard that can provide enough space for a band, please sign up. And we also are looking for performers. So that's this week. Again, look up Porch Fest Metuchen, and you'll find the borough website where you can do that. We're also looking for volunteers for that event as well. And then lastly, the Green Team, we're really getting our structure together for that. So if you'd like to come and be a part of some projects that are going to benefit our community, there's all kinds of different things for different amounts of bandwidth that you might or may not have. So send me an email and I will tell you all about it. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Candell?
I have no report.
Councilmember Jethwani?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items regarding the library. There's a new exhibit in the library called Unraveled, using fibers and textile art. This exhibit will have its artist reception on Sunday, May 17th from 2 to 4 p.m. And also, this is an exciting one. In partnership with a company called Ant Flow, the library is pleased to announce that they now offer freely accessible period products in the women's restroom. with the aim of ensuring that everyone can access the hygiene resources they need with dignity and privacy. There's already been some great positive feedback from library patrons, according to our library director, Rebecca. And the next Library Board of Trustees meeting is Tuesday, May 12th at 7 p.m. And then I'm excited to share that the History Advisory Committee has developed a self-guided walking tour of the historic Woodwild Park District with over 40 homes highlighted. The tour is accessible online through the Borough website and has also been promoted, I think, on social media on the Borough page today. But a limited quantity of booklets are also available at the library. So the weather's getting better, and I'd encourage folks to go out and explore the neighborhood. And I also want to thank all of the hard work done by the committee to create this great resource for our community. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hyman?
Yes, thank you. The CARES Committee was happy to participate with the YMCA in Healthy Kids Day last Saturday, April 18th. The basketball court was open so kids could play, and there were other vendors there with a focus on health and well-being. We're also in the midst of planning our community leaders breakfast for this Friday. The next meeting for the CARES Committee is on Thursday, May 14th. Parade Committee, thank God it's finally May. We're gearing up for our 99th Metuchen Memorial Day Parade, which will kick off at 10 a.m. on Memorial Day. We'll be choosing for the art contest the winners next week. The grand prize winner their artwork will be on the cover of the Memorial Day program. And there is still time to register, so please, if you have a group, get them together, get them in the parade. The next meeting for the Parade Committee is Tuesday, May 12th, here at the Borough Hall at 7:15. And the Board of Health next meeting is Wednesday, May 13th. So, all next week. Thank you.
Councilman Branch?
Tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo, just a reminder. So for all who celebrate Cinco de Mayo, a happy Cinco de Mayo. And for those who don't know what Cinco de Mayo is, just very quickly commemorates the Mexican Army's unlikely victory over French forces at the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862. So look it up, learn, and celebrate, you know. It's not just 4th of May, right? It's Cinco de Mayo. That's it.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say that I'm really appreciative of Congressman Pallone and obviously the work that his office, not just obviously the congressman himself, but his staff members helped in pushing forward on the $1 million plus for our emergency services center that they advocated for. You know, we submitted this application about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, maybe. Yeah, maybe 3 years ago. It came through committee, and with the dysfunction in Washington, you know, at some point we sort of gave up hope. They resubmitted the project a second time after the government kept remaining open through extensions as opposed to adopting an actual budget. And even the second time the congressman submitted, he even said to me, I'm not going to put out a release on this. They normally do when the projects get through committee, because usually when they get through committee, that just means it's a matter of time before they get into the budget. But when the budgets don't pass and they just keep extending the deadline, instead they agree on temporary extension. The can just kept getting kicked down the road. But eventually enough members from both sides of the aisle were looking for their projects to move forward, and this happened recently. So this happened, I guess, Thursday of last week, perhaps. Was it Thursday? And, you know, I think the president's going to be signing it this week from what I understand. So, you know, hopefully, but it's a big deal, and it's another $1 million that we don't have to pay as a borough. And so I appreciate the congressman and his advocacy on that. All right, let's move on to the new business consent agenda. Council President?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the new business consent agenda resolutions 2026-149 to 2026-154.
Thanks. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2026-155, authorizing the payment of the bill list in the amount of $4,610,239.71.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2026-156, authorizing an executive session to discuss matters involving attorney-client privilege.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we are going to go into executive session. We have a matter with one of our attorneys here to discuss in executive session. We're required to have those discussions in executive, but we're not going to take any public business when we come out. We'll just adjourn the meeting, and so we're going to excuse the folks at Metuchen Media so that they can go home, because I don't know how long we're going to be back here. Obviously, the meeting is public when we come back out, but we're literally going to have a motion, a second, and all those in favor to adjourn at that point. So hope everybody enjoyed our meeting, and we'll see you on May 18th. Is that right? Is that our next meeting?
Yes.
We'll see you on May 18th. Thank you.